Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and even though I'm not the official welcomer this evening, I'd like to welcome you briefly before you get welcomed officially to this event. My name is Ongama Mtimka, and I'm going to be your program director this evening. I've had the honor, thanks to CANRAD. The event is the part of Africa Week for the university and CANRAD, as well as the stakeholders, and I think it's done in partnership with it's CANRAD, the university, in partnership with the African National Congress, particularly Omben, whose book we are about this evening. I almost want to say Utatu Omben, because Omben is actually, it's also part of the name as things go, so Tatu Omben. But without wasting any time, I'd like to welcome the principal of my principal, Dr. Mutwa, who is the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Institutional Support at NMMU, to do the official opening. Dr. Mutwa.
I'm sorry to wear a coat. It does not look elegant, but the room is cold. So I do dress better usually. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so happy to see pupils from high school also sitting among us this evening. It is my singular pleasure to open this event this evening. I stand here this evening representing our Vice Chancellor, Derek Swartz, who could not be with us this evening due to his long-standing engagement outside the country. I also send the greetings of our University Council and under the leadership of Justice Ronnie Pillay. I greet all the members of our council that are present here this evening, the members of Senate, various academic structures, management of this university in its entirety, the distinguished guests that have seen this evening who are with us. We recognize the students, the center of our lives here at the institution, and then we recognize the student leadership from all formations that are here tonight. Importantly, I also first want to recognize by name and with a great deal of respect Utata, Mr. Benson Fihla, whose book is being launched here at NMMU tonight, and who was until recently the first citizen as the mayor of this Nelson Mandela Bay. We greet you, sir. We are proud that you are here this evening. We recognize you. We recognize your comrades that are here and that are not here. We recognize your family that is so central in your life from what I've read in your book. In addition, we recognize the presence of some eminent persons who have graced this occasion with their presence tonight, and some of them who are discussants this evening on this very important day of launching this book. Mr. Nceba Faku, who himself was the executive mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay. Mr. Mkhuseli, who does not need much introduction as an author and a political commentator and a political activist. Mr. Xhego, who also is very well known in this bay and this province, and he was the former regional chair of the ANC in this region. And I would like to also greet and recognize this evening Mr. Oscar Mabuyane, who is with us. He is the secretary of the ANC in this province. We are very welcome, sir, at Nelson Mandela University. As you know, that our university has been renamed Nelson Mandela University, and we are very proud of that. The purpose of this evening we're gathered here to officially launch the Africa Week celebrations. We kick off this launch through this launch of this celebration through the launch of this book. This is an annual event in many parts of our continent. Here at Nelson Mandela University, it is an annual event to which we are very committed as a university, and which is a centerpiece of our celebration of our identity, of Africanism, Africanness, and all that this identity stands for and it means for us as Africans. The second, but also as important purpose of this evening, as I have said, is the celebration of the lifetime of the struggle for liberation of Utata Ubensin Fihla through the launch of his autobiography. So in launching his autobiography, we are celebrating a lifetime of the struggle of this veteran. His book is entitled The Road to Freedom, ANC's Veterans' Reflection on the Journey to Liberation. It is indeed very fitting that we kick off this Africa Week's celebration with the celebration of this newest offering in the documentation of the twists and turns that our country has taken on our road to liberation. Ben Fihla and his comrades, which he mentions in his book, brings into sharp focus the gallant role of many of that generation played to make sure that our struggle for liberation did bear the fruits that we are enjoying today. We thank you, therefore, Tatu Ben, for this. It is a fitting tribute, then, that we kick off Africa Week in the first year that we are called in the name of Nelson Mandela. So it is a very fitting tribute for us. It's a double tribute for us. Just to say something, seeing that there are students and pupils here from high school as well, about Africa Day and Africa Week. On the 25th of May 1963, representatives of 30 African nations met in Addis in Ethiopia. At this meeting, the Organization of African Unity was founded with the initial aim to encourage the decolonization of those countries that were still under colonial rule, such as Angola, Mozambique, and South Africa, and many others. Africa Day continues to be celebrated both in Africa and around the world, mostly on the 25th of May. Themes are set for each year by the United Nations to celebrate Africa Day, Africa Week, and Africa Month. Our government itself this year has set the theme for our country as, for 2017, they've set the theme, I quote, unquote, the year of O.R. Tambo, building a better Africa and a better world, a fitting theme for a globalist that O.R. was. As we turn to the topical and present purpose of this evening, the launch of the book, I again wish to thank Ben for his offering. It is a brief and a quick read, but also it is reflective and educational, it is expansive, and it is deep in its prose and conversational in its tenor. I see that a number of our students are here this evening, as I've said, but I do wish there would have been more of our students. Hearing or learning directly from the veterans of our struggle is not the same as reading about them. So this evening is a huge privilege to hear from Ben firsthand through reflections of our discussants this evening who know him well. But through this work, we also experience the courage of various luminaries of our struggle that are portrayed and come alive through this work, including Governor Mbeki and Ben's other comrades like Mpongose, Kayingo, Mini, Daweti, Mati, and others that he reflects on in his book. But also this work put in the spotlight the struggles of younger activists who are at this launch tonight, whom I've also mentioned, like Mkhuseli, Nceba, Faku, and Xhego, who are actually going to speak to the work of Ben as their comrade this evening. In conclusion, I picked the dominant themes of the life of Uamben as we know him, as the leader in the struggle and the leader in government. So the dominant themes are not lost in the book, but also they are not lost in the life of the man that we know. And the dominant themes that have pervaded his life, I'll mention a few. One, total commitment to the liberation of his people to the point of selflessness. Secondly, his value for family and community. Thirdly, his affirmation and conviction of the role of women in the home and society, including their undervalued roles in the public discourse of the liberation struggles of our country. Fourthly, and more importantly, Uamben's story is a story of reconciliation, and it is a story of healing. And then it enjoins us to take forward the new struggle, which is a struggle for accountability, rectitude in public life. Thank you very much.
That was very cold for such a great welcoming. That was very cold for such a great welcoming. Thank you so much. That is Dr. Mutwa of the DVC for Institutional Support at Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University. I almost want to drop the Metropolitan, but I don't want to run ahead of myself. Colleagues, thank you again. Thank you, Dr. Mutwa, for that introduction. And thanks a lot for helping us to locate this event as not just one among the many speeches that we have throughout the year, but as an important one that connects us with the continent, that connects us with our history, and that connects us with what is key and important for this institution in terms of values and our claim to being African. Thank you so much for reminding us that. Also, Dr. Mutwa covered me there, because when I looked at the audience, I thought I'm going to have a protocol issue, because at some stage or another, a lot of people who are here have been my political principals. But I'm happy that Dr. Mutwa kind of covered covered me there. So all I have to do going forward is to say all protocol observed. Without wasting time, we're going to have the senior manager for CANRAD coming to introduce the guests. You would have seen Dr. Mutwa pointing to a number of people sitting in front. So you'll get to have them officially introduced to you. So I'd like to also acknowledge the director of CANRAD, Mr. Alan Zinn, as well as invite Sonabo to come to introduce the guests that Dr. Mutwa was talking about. A round of applause for Sonabo.
All right, thank you very much, Program Director. I'm doing this on behalf of my director, Mr. Alan Zinn. I've been kindly requested to do this in his behalf. Colleagues, we're gathered here today to celebrate the work of Uamben. Just briefly, Uamben was born in Port Elizabeth here in the Eastern Cape. He was sentenced to 14 years imprisonment in 1964 for African National Congress activities and was banned on his release from Robben Island from 1978 to 1983. He was elected into office on 22 March 2013 as the executive mayor of the Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality. Prior to this, he was the National Assembly, where he served since 1994. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me to welcome on the stage Baba Uamben. All right, right, thank you very much, colleagues. We have e-contributors. I will ask them collectively to come on the stage. We have Mr. Nceba Faku, who was born here in New Brighton, Port Elizabeth. Mr. Nceba Faku is the former executive mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality. He was nominated as #1 on the priority list of African National Congress, Port Elizabeth region. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nceba Faku. Also on the podium, also on the stage, we're going to have Mr. Xhego, was also born in PE. He was a South African anti-apartheid activist in the 1980s. He is also known for his involvement in the anti-apartheid struggles and his efforts in the consumer boycotts campaigns. Mr. Xhego. Thank you very much, colleagues. Lastly but not least, we have Ubaba Xhego. Xhego. All right. I suppose, colleagues, after that round of applause, I need not to introduce him further, but at least I should follow the protocol. Mr. Xhego started his political career in youth politics. He was a member of the Student Christian Movement in 1974, before joining the Black Consciousness Movement in 1975. Xhego played an important role in the protest against Bantu education in 1976. He was arrested on 20 September 1976, being sentenced for 5 years imprisonment on Robben Island. It is there where he became a member of the African National Congress. After his release in 20 January 1982, he returned to youth politics, aiding the Port Elizabeth Youth Congress to becoming a branch of the South African Youth Congress. He is also the former regional chairperson of the African National Congress in the Eastern Cape, Ubaba Xhego. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Sturman, for welcoming the guests, our honored guests today. What we're going to do now, we're not going to waste any time. We want to hear this story from the horse's mouth, Omben. I think what's a great honor for me is that this time, actually, what we used to do while growing up was to sit around the fire and listen to the great stories of either Nceba or improvised stories to make you sleep or to teach you about a lesson, about something you had done wrong that day, or just the great stories of warriors in our country of old. So we are going to get to learn from somebody who has just been introduced by you, Mr. Sturman. I'm very passionate about the two generations that we see here. It's the pre-1942 generation and the post-40s and 50s generation. This generation, for me, what inspires me about them is that Omben's generation, they become key in taking the ideals of African nationalism in the mid-30s, in fact, from the early 1900s all the way through to the early 40s in this country. But as they were getting arrested and getting tired and were in prison, there's this generation of the mid-40s all the way to the mid-60s, whom elsewhere they've been called the baby boomers. But I call them the agitators because it is they who actually agitate and give new life to the struggle for democracy in this country. So it is such a great honor to be able to listen to both generations tonight. And let's welcome Tata Nkosinathi Ben Fihla on stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, the history of the struggle is a painful thing. very, very painful. But we had to fight. I'll tell a story first. In 1960, when ANC decided to take up arms against the government, I was together with one university comrade from Forte. He asked me, how are you going to fight the whites when they have got Saracens, jets, and you have no arms? You know, I said to him, no, we are going to get arms. We are going to train our people. Some of the arms we'll take from them. That was what was happening then in PE. You know, wars have been fought in many countries, and there are different types of wars that were fought. There was a First World War when the whole world was fighting against the Germans and the Japanese. Then the Second World War also was fought. But there were smaller wars that have been fought in many countries. Wars of dispossessions, colonial wars, popular wars, wars of resistance. Many types of wars were fought. Also, there were classical guerrilla warfare. And there was also urban guerrilla warfare. South Africa is a highly developed country. It's more developed than all the African countries. And therefore, there were no forests in South Africa. It's man-made forests that we get at the borders. Che Guevara once said in his book, urban guerrilla warfare is a graveyard of guerrillas. It means it's very, very difficult to fight urban guerrilla warfare. Very, very difficult. Because guerrillas, as they enter, they're killed. They're exposed to the enemy. Unlike what we find in Mozambique, in Angola, in Vietnam, where there were jungles where a person could move and the helicopters and jets could not see him. Not in South Africa. But it meant, therefore, that we had to devise ways of how to hide ourselves in a situation like that. You know, one day a comrade were fighting because the South African government went across to the other countries to attack ANC guerrillas in a former southern Rhodesia, which is Zimbabwe today. One comrade was smoking, and the other comrades, one comrade told, "Hey comrade, this is dangerous, man. You can't smoke. Stop smoking." I said, no, I'm hiding, man. were hiding. They were in a forest. It was in the evening. Then, only to find that he exposed the comrades. And the government, the soldiers of the enemy started attacking that area. Many comrades were killed because of that ill discipline. You can imagine now in urban warfare how question of discipline is needed. You know, secondly, EPE was once an area when they will say, when Port Elizabeth sneezed, the whole country coughed in the liberation movement, in the revolution. Because of mass mobilization that had been done. There was a time when each and every individual belonged to the ANC in the 50s. Everybody was a member of the ANC. Everybody in PE. Because of the intensity of mass mobilization that was done. You know, when we went to the first conference in 1991 in Durban, I was leading the biggest delegation in the whole country. You know, there was a branch that had 20,000 members. One branch, 20,000 members. I'm telling you the honest truth. 20,000 members, another one had 17,000 members, a branch. You know, a question that was asked by Nceba, Nelson Mandela. He asked me, how do you manage such a big branches like that? I said, no, we divide the branch into units. We break it down into units so that each unit has a small committee, a chairperson, secretary, an organizer. And when they meet, they had sort of a council meeting of a branch. That's why I was saying I was leading the biggest delegation. And his secretary was Comrade Google Nkwinti. When we entered the conference, before we started, we had a problem of who is going to be the deputy president. Eastern Cape, Western Cape were carrying Raymond Nceba. Limpopo was carrying Popo Molife. Durban was carrying Harry Kwala. Gauteng was carrying Sisulu. These were all contesting nominees for deputy president. I said to Cooks, I think we can determine who should be here. Then let's call a meeting of all chairperson of each province, chairperson and secretaries. I said to them, comrades, firstly, comrades from KwaZulu-Natal, there were two regions at KwaZulu-Natal at the time. One was led by Xhego, another one was led by JZ. I said, I said to them, comrades, we can't have Nelson Mandela, the president of South Africa, and Harry Gwala, the deputy president. Those two are two extremes. Can't mix those two. It's not possible. We are requesting from you to withdraw Harry Gwala. And we are prepared also to compromise to withdraw Raymond Mkhuseli. All the other provinces agreed. And then we said a compromising person is Sisulu. So we took Sisulu. But to our surprise, when we were voting, there were 600 votes for Harry Gwala. And that was the total delegation of KwaZulu-Natal. But unfortunately, he was beaten. Yeah, comrades, I'm just going to cite highlights. I'm not going to speak about the book. Firstly, I'm going to speak about guerrilla warfare, because that was what I was specializing in. As I was saying, that guerrilla warfare is fought in the jungles, in forests, in thick forests. And the gorillas hide in the jungles. But in towns, it's not possible. So, but fortunately for Port Elizabeth, it was the most mobilized town in the whole of South Africa. The most mobilized town in the whole of South Africa. In fact, it started as far as 50s, right through. They were leading the struggle for liberation, resulting in that many, many youth died in here. More than any other area in South Africa. They died here in Portland. They were killed, fighting for liberation. Now, I had read a book I'm just jumping here. Okay, let me start with the 60s. Because in the 60s, what happened when ANC embarked on the armed struggle? Gov, Ray, Comrade Tunja, they were the political educators. So they had classes, political classes that were taken. So I was in one of those classes. So they selected comrades from those classes, political classes. And I was selected, one of the persons selected in the 60s. Now, we had to form units. But my unit was to make bombs. That was my task. Now, in that unit, it was myself, Joseph Jack, Harold Strache, a white comrade, and Omkov, I suppose he was monitoring us. We had gone to be trained somewhere, and we came back. And you know what is of interest was that we must not write anything. You can imagine mixing various chemicals, but you have to keep them here in order to make a bomb on your head. The formula for making various types of bombs. Now, we came back. The target, government installations, that was target, not human beings, government installation. And it was intensive here in Port Elizabeth, very much. There was a high command here that was controlling the whole of the Eastern Cape. It was here, Port Elizabeth. Comrade Kaingo, Comrade Vuislemini, Comrade Nceba, and Robert Mbanjwa. But Robert Mbanjwa left the country, was instructed to leave the country later on. I think also, now, 2 comrades from Transkei had come for training here. So they came, they were arrested by the police. And they were beaten up, tortured. And they informed the police who trained them. Omgov was arrested. Harold Stachen was arrested. Fortunately for me, the time those comrades came, I was not there. Joseph Jack, they went to his house. They allowed him, he said, "Can you allow me to go to the room to change?" Telling the security. Then the security waited in vain, went through the window and went to Tanzania, abroad, went abroad, left for abroad. Then we decided to take this comrade outside South Africa. One took him to Maseru, to Lesotho. The other one was reluctant to leave because he thought that we were going to kill them. He said, "No, I'll change my evidence in the court." I could not believe that. And the security, on the other hand, were saying, "Give us Govenbeek. We can free Harold Sacher. Give us Govenbeek." He was telling the prosecution, the defense, they refused. So, whilst these 2 were in prison, Omgov wenza what we call umchecha pants, telling me to intensify the sabotage because I was the only one now out. So I had to get some more comrades, recruit some more comrades who were in the previous committees, these political committees. Comrade Joe Marty and Comrade Nangu. So we said, okay, because they said, you must make a sensation. So we said, no, the only way is to sabotage in town, right in town. So we sent comrades to a post office there at Donken. There was a post office at Donken. You know Donken? Donken. Now, another thing, when we made bomb, when we're trained, you put that bomb there, and then the units, that unit has to run, because of the time, shortage of time. Then we realized, hey, it's going to be a problem. In town, you can't run. You can't run. Hey, let's try and make the time device longer. The timing device, so that the comrade, he puts the bomb there and it just works. So we did that. It was the headlines, huge headlines in the front of the paper, in the Herald, in the Evening Post, all over. Because it shocked now the security, because they thought that they had crushed the saboteurs. So they couldn't believe it. There was still some other people who were outside, not arrested. That comrade who had decided to change his evidence, he did change it. And it led to Umgov being freed. Now, Comrade Harold Strachen, unfortunately for him, we were using his house because he was a white man. He's in town. So we're using his house his garage for preparing bombs. So the security got a lot of evidence there in his house. So they had strong evidence against him and was sentenced to 3 years. This was before they had passed the Sabotage Act. Now, as we intensified the sabotage now they passed a law called the Sabotage Act, which meant that if you are arrested, the minimum sentence is 5 years. The maximum sentence is death. So we continued. Now, firstly, I was a socialite. I was a sportsman. Now, the police could not believe that I'm a saboteur. Now, because I was a dancer, I was a champion dancer here. I was a champion in the Eastern Cape, in Free State, in Western Cape, I came number 3, Western Cape, when the Western Cape came. But I was dominating. People they even went to witch doctors to say, what? The witch doctor said, no, man. Fihla, you must use some medicine in order to counter him. So they paid a lot of money. And I heard about that. Then, you know, what they used to do, we used to have one judge. Then they said, no, Fihla knows these judges. They were white judges, of course. So they said they want a panel of judges, 3 judges at the time. Then I won again, I beat them all. Then they said, no, you must get a judge outside Port Elizabeth. So they got a judge in Grahamstown. He came all the way, and I won again. I said, no, I think you have to go to another country to get a judge, because I'm going to beat you. Now, that in itself made me, that was a cover for me. I'm a saboteur. Now, people generally look at me as a socialite. So nobody could believe that I was a saboteur. Nobody could believe it. So that was a cover, a very good cover. I asked Umgof one time, Umgof, I want to relinquish, to stop dancing in sport. He said, no, don't stop. I said, no, don't stop, continue. At the time I didn't know why he said. But later on I realized, no, Umgof was right. This was a good cover for me. Very good cover. Because everybody knew me as a dancer, all in the whole town. As a sportsman who was playing cricket. Now, that was the first cover in the 60s. In the 80s, 1980, the security of South Africa went to America for training. Oh, I'm sorry. For training. Sorry. Now, they came back how to deal with terrorists. So it means now we have to use other methods now. I'd read a book at Robben Island. A book, they call it White Rabbit. This book, a trained intelligence chap was sent from Britain to France to investigate the targets of the Germans, because Germany was occupying France at the time, to investigate how to attack, how to sabotage, how to attack with planes to bombard those areas. When the chap arrived in France, he met a resistance movement of the French. They said to him, no, it's not going to be possible. These chaps have got anti-aircraft guns surrounding their factories. It's not going to be possible for them. So what you can do, train us in sabotage. Because we're going to go and work in these factories. So he did. Now this chap had what we call safe houses. He had about 10 safe houses. Now, when you speak of a safe house in urban warfare, you speak of a person, if I leave a dangerous weapon in this house, he's going to hide it. He's not going to be afraid. He's going to hide it. If the security comes and asks about, have you seen somebody and all that, he's going to say, no, I never saw that person. All that. It's a safe house now. It means, therefore, the security were looking for this chap, this British soldier. They couldn't get him because he moved. He slept in one house one day, one night, then he moved to another house, then he was moving around. So it was very difficult to get him. That is what that allowed us now to do the same thing he was doing in Port Elizabeth. We had what we call safe houses here in Port Elizabeth. No, that house, we can prepare our bombs in that house, is safe. No, that one is not safe. That one is safe. No. But we had many, many safe houses in Port Elizabeth. Many. Because of mass mobilization that was done by these communities. They were doing what we call ungovernability, to make South Africa ungovernable by mass mobilization. Whilst the guerrillas were operating, many guerrillas came to Port Elizabeth because it was much safer in Port Elizabeth than other countries, than other towns, because of the mobilization that had been done here. At Soweto, I used to go to Soweto at 12 midnight. And after having a discussion with a gorilla, after planning together, we planned how to attack. Then I meet Mabutu, these are chaps, Mabutu. They did a lot of good work. So I instruct them how to attack a hippo, how to attack Mabutu. Because at that time now, they were serious in security. Then I go back. I was wearing a balaclava in the evening, so that nobody should be able to identify me. Can you believe that the gorilla I was working with, I did not know his name. I never asked him his name. My fear was that if I'm arrested and beaten up and I know his name, then I will be in trouble because I'll tell the police. So the best thing, I must not know him. I only knew him after 30 years. Freedom. I asked another comrade, who was that comrade? That is what you call discipline of underground. Discipline of underground. We did not ask questions on each other, but we're just preparing what to do, how to attack the enemy. That's all. Urban guerrilla warfare. Now, Tony Yengeni, one time there in Parliament, he said to me, Omben, I'm challenging you. I heard that you are one of the longest comrades who operated underground in South Africa. I'm challenging. Then I laughed about that. Another comrade from the Communist Party was sent also. Say, no, we heard that you are one of the longest comrades who operated underground. How do you do? Can you put it down on paper? Then he started writing what was a question of discipline underground. Because it's very dangerous working urban guerrilla warfare, because we're working amongst the people. We are not in the forest, we are amongst the people. And in Port Elizabeth, can you believe it? Port Elizabeth had the biggest number of informers were planted. The biggest number, I'm telling you. And it means, therefore, you have to be wary who's the enemy. Amongst the comrades also. So that was the difficulty we're working under, comrades. Now we're okay. Thank you. Okay. One day, one comrade was asking me, "Hey, comrade, who are these comrades who are doing sabotage? Why do we not get a report from them?" I said, "Comrades, how can we get a report from comrades when we are not involved in that thing? We are not involved in sabotage. Why should we ask questions?" Then there came my time. We prepared a lot of bombs in boxes, put them in boxes. At Costin. It was a safe house there at Costin. Then that comrade had a car. Then I requested him to help us with his car. I didn't tell them that. I said, no, I just want to fetch some grocery. We went there in the evening. To his amazement, when he saw that these are BAMs, he was shaking. He started shaking. No. I've got an old lady, my mother. No, I can't do that. I said, comrade, no, cool down. Now, we were to enter New Brighton, that side of police, in Chekis, that side, with the car. Then this comrade said, no, comrades, there's a roadblock. So we said, okay, let us go that side, Grahamstown Road. Now, the comrade again said, there's a roadblock at the bridge. Now, we're watching in some of those factories there, the Dilpat. But unfortunately, one of those factories had been burnt down by a bomb. Now there were police and army. Now we're doing this because there's a roadblock there, and there are police and there's the army. They're putting torches there. I said, comrades, this is suicide, comrade. These chaps are going to kill us. And we're carrying bombs here. Unfortunately, I cannot drive. Otherwise, I would drive through that roadblock rather than be caught red-handed with these bombs. This chap was shaking, but the driver was just shaking. Then he said, fortunately, it was myself and Joseph Jack. Joseph Jack, fortunately, he was a driver. He said, okay, let me take the car. We're going to gate crash on the roadblock. So he took the car because this one was shaking. Only to find that there's no roadblock. He went there through and he would deliver the various units, those bombs. So those were some of the incidents that were happening during our time. But there were many of them. There were railway lines also were sabotaged. Many places were sabotaged. But the point is that we managed, some of us, to escape being killed, to escape being detected. You know, Comrade Ashe, one time, one who was still alive, he was asking other comrades, what is Fihla doing, comrades? Nobody knew me. Because I was working with a gorilla, and I told nobody about that. I was just quietly. Then that was the situation at our time. The police, the security from Pretoria came. 6 top chaps who had gone for training in America. They were sent to deal with me. Now, you know, a problem that we find with the comrades then was that when he's interrogated by police, he denies everything. Now, I'd learned from that chap, that you must have a story to tell and keep that story. So I had a story to tell. Whenever security interrogated me, I always tell them, no, when we left Robben Island, we're informed by the leadership that we must not involve ourselves in serious politics. That was my story. And I kept that one. Those security, they were trained, highly trained. 6 hours interrogation. One took 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour. No food, no water, nothing. Interrogated me. Same story. right through. They gave up. They said, no, Donald can't help this he can't be speaking the same thing, and yet he's lying. So that was my story. That was how I was able to escape being killed. Now, but ultimately, one top chap in the high command was bought by the police. And he gave information about the high command and ours. So they were arrested, of Wislemin and others. They were sentenced to death. I was also bound with them one time. They wanted me to be together with those chaps. Because I had a conduct, I was reporting to Kaingo. Kaingo was the chief command of the high command. So I had to report everything to him, what is happening, what we're going to do, and all that. Now the police now wanted to put me together with those chaps, be sent to death also. But fortunately, later on they took me off. But that was the sad story. But comrades, there nothing is said as being put in a cell opposite a person who has been sentenced to death. Now, ordinarily, if a person is sentenced to years, no matter whether it's 20 years or you can always console that person. Say, oh, we'll get our freedom, don't worry. We will not die in prison. But I was put in a cell opposite of Wislemin, and they have been sentenced to death. I was just, I could not speak. I comment. And it ended there. It was a painful experience, I'm telling you. So that was that comment. Thank you, Commissioner.
I think Okokuma, the standing ovation, who was befitting for such a powerful and emotive speech. We are going to give time for us to speak, ask questions, but for now, we also want to hear from the generation that took the baton from Otata Uomben, Otamkul Uomben. So in the following order, we're going to have our distinguished guests coming. Sawqala ngo Mr. Jack ebese introduce ke kulandele u Mr. X emveni koko kuze uTatu Faku.
Due to the time constraint, I think we unfortunately will have to run fast. First of all, ndifuna kubantu balapha bonke, and I want also to particularly thank Comrade Oscar Mabuyane for driving so long to come and launch this book. I think it should not escape us, the symbolism and its importance yokuthi enze lonto, because why is to smaller sifuna rather we exercise our intellectualism, meaning that yours, it is because that's what we want you to be. Because the reason Womben could stand here and survive as he did, it is precisely because he learned a lot, he listened a lot, and as a result, he developed natural discipline. And it is that natural discipline that made him to be able to live for so long after facing so many difficulties. His story is a story of sadness. He tells a story of pain, suffering, and pain of our people. Comes from a family of uneducated people. His father was a quiet man. Womben was also quiet. Politics made him boastful. He was very boastful as St. Albert's. But he says it was only when I grew up and by the influence of politics that I became more open. The book is about our everyday aspect of being a freedom fighter. I'm not going to be, but I want to tell you this, my relationship with Wamben is strange because I never knew that Wamben ubuvele Robben Island. I was a friend of his, he got 2 sons. I befriended one at a time. Utemba Lulapa. I would walk into the house when Ben was quiet, in and out, and me and Temba were busy organizing a revolution and talking big. First, Ufezekile, the younger one, and then we landed at St. Natsika Moderbie prison in the 1980s, early 79, 80. Then in 1982, with the other son, I was locked up in the Siskai. That was the end of my schooling when they took me in a classroom, Ewongalitu. So we know Wamben as the epitome of what the ANC used to call its member. The member of the ANC, when we grew up, did not carry any card or wear T-shirts or carry any flags. Those things were in the character of the individual. When he walks there, you saw the ANC touching the ground every step of the way. That is the ANC that Wamben was. And when we were young, we are very proud to have been able to follow in Nansiki role model as Injal. I am happy that this order is put like this. It is correct because those 2 guys, their stories, both of them, are fascinating stories on their own. Let me not talk about their books, let's talk about Wamben's book. Solomon, Tauba, those who have read the book, the Odessa Files. This is a summary of that sad story told by that old Jewish man who committed suicide after years of having been going through the life that a great man like Wamben has gone to. And that man, what he did as he tells his story, it's a very similar story with the same characters as this. I want to say, Wamben, thank you very much for having led us. And I am convinced that many of us would have been nothing in this world and would have perished very easy in various dangers of our country, alcohol, drugs, and other things. But being guided by great men like you and your colleagues, we walk tall today. We're very proud of you, Wamben. This is a summary of your life. I wish you can tell us all about your life before anything. And I'm sure you are capable. Thank you.
Next up, Tata or Mike Xhego. Sibulela Tata.
Amandla. Kawethu. Viva ANC, viva! Viva ANC, viva! In 1 minute, Wamben. Okay, come back. Okay. Okay, boys. Okay, boys. Viva ANC, viva! Because we don't have time, I can see that the secretary should go home and rest, and the children must go home and eat. Comrade Ellen, my comrade Doctor, Comrade McLean, Janet Sherry, Comrade Potgieter, and other giants that I've just seen them coming in. In less than a minute, let me summarize on Ben's history together with us. But where do I start? Perhaps let me say, it is true when writers say, and I quote, "It is not the consciousness of man that determines his social being. On the contrary, it is his social being that determines his consciousness." Quote unquote. A son of the working class, a son of the proletariat, a son whose mother has to sell his labor power somewhere in order for him to survive, a son whose mother has to go and work somewhere in the kitchen and sell her labor power in order for that son to go and enroll at university or somewhere else, a son that stayed in the foreign house at Boss Village, perhaps at times with no food in that fridge, an African child that realized that her problems were social, not individual. He joined the ranks of the youth movement and joined the ranks of the African National Congress. Thanks God that the ANC was made to what it is today. It's very unfortunate that consciousness is being questioned somewhere in Little House right now, Ben. Because I believe, very, very honestly, that consciousness is the personal property of an individual. Consciousness is not a commodity, it's a good. Consciousness, you don't sell it with your soul. No amount of salary must ever buy our consciousnesses. Our consciousness, because that consciousness is a product of the sperm and the egg of my parents. And that consciousness must make me walk proud and never sell it for any salary, whether it's a parliamentary salary or any other salary. We are now confronted very soon in Parliament whether to use our consciousness or to use the consciousness of the collective of the NEC. Such is the time. Perhaps time has changed. Good luck on Ben with your book.
I am so embarrassed by the two previous speakers. Gracious me. I can't speak that short. I just can't piece that short. On Ben and the family, comrades and friends, Provincial Secretary, Comrade Mabuyane, and other members of the PEC that I see here, Comrade Desi, other comrades, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a singular honor, Ben, to be requested to say something today on the occasion that is so important in your life. An event when you have allowed us to share your traveled road and lay bare the healed scars of emotions, physical and political. I thank you and your family, Ben, for having identified us and for this privilege. The title of the book is My Road to Freedom. But yet we all know, Ben, that road to freedom has no ending. It is a permanent travel full of signposts of closed chapters. We travel this road with a very clear understanding of its infinity and its destination. Thank you, Mben, for your chapter. Your race was well run. The current political situation on which this book is launched cannot be more relevant. In the City Press of the 16th of May 2017, I quote, "I am sad. My heart is bleeding when I see what is happening in the country. People have become so greedy that money has become the most important thing. They have lost the values the ANC stood for. People have died for this revolution, for this freedom. Some went into exile and died there. Others died here internally during the apartheid years, fighting for freedom. They were shot and killed by the apartheid regime. It is sad, very, very sad. Today, the ANC is deeply divided. Everybody wants a position. People no longer do things on a revolutionary basis. They want to be paid for everything they do. That was not the ANC's position. This is the City Press, and I'm partly quoting it on the comments of Comrade Andrew Mlangeni, the veteran. Your book, Mben, that reflects your traveling road. The current state of our liberation movement in South Africa is a reflection of an unfortunate consequence of a lack of leadership. We do have leaders. We're short of leadership. For every regulated period of time, when constituencies of organizations of liberation movement go to refresh mandate for their leaders, robust and incisive introspection of those individuals that they nominate and eventually elect in positions of leadership deteriorate every time. There is no robust engagement as to whether the characters that we choose for our leadership actually meet the challenge and the challenges of the time. I will be controversial and say that the call of Comrade President Jacob Zuma to resign and step down today is mischievous and misleading. Mben? No, indeed. It is mischievous and misleading. Some of the people in this room led an opinion as we were going to Polokwane that there are other choices of leaders. The delegates elected Comrade President Zuma. The choice was made, and we lived with it. But not only that, As we were going to Mangaung, there were some of people in this room who raised a warning that don't do it again. The delegates did it, and we lived with it. And we are not going to support an irresponsible call for the President of the African National Congress to step down today, when your voices were not there, when those who warned you then said don't do it. You elect the leaders you deserve. On Ben, we usually call him and affectionately call him sometimes Paw. Is a true revolutionary who has lived and still possesses all attributes of leaders who lead and live by example. His life is an epitome of an ANC cadre. He is an ANC activist leader, an unconditional volunteer, a humble and an accessible leader, non-factional and non-corruptible, a consistent servant of the people and the servant of the African National Congress. The breed of Omben is diminishing now in the African National Congress. Our liberation movement is facing scarcity of substance and quality of membership. Patronizing and factionalism are fast replacing an ideal cadre that we so struggled to build. This region of Nelson Mandela, which used to be the pride of the ANC throughout the country, has now become a playing field of opportunists and corruptible leaders. The values of a person after which our region is named, Omben, whom you were working underground, those values are thrown out of the window on the basis that ziyasilibazisa. The organization, our organization, Omben, that we have sacrificed for is run by factional members who are in serious pursuit of its destruction and plunder. Not only has it abandoned political education, but its current leadership is resolved in isolating and sidelining those that would have the capacity to rekindle sanity and direction. We see impunity and courage of abuse of state and organizational power to entrench factional factions, looting state resources, and quest for government deployment. All these reactionary practices, these un-ANC values, these divisive tendencies are done in disguise of building unity and providing leadership of the ANC. All of us in this hall and those who know of this launch are well aware of the sacrifice and hard work that Omben would always bring on any duty he was assigned to do. I am pleased to read from your book how your parents nurtured your character, Omben, and instill all good family values that we can witness through the style of your leadership in the ANC on all positions that you were deployed to. We hope that those that will read from this book will be motivated to be able to grow and internalize the values that the book is intended to transmit to the younger generation of our country. Ben, thank you very much and good luck.
Just an update from my side. We've had a very powerful and motivational session. If we may please still have your attention. If we may still have your attention. So, just as a way of updating where we are in the program, we should be done at 8 o'clock, unless my principals point otherwise. So we've got 9 minutes to get there. What we are going to do, we're going to open up for questions and comments, no long introductions. Just hit straight to your comment or your question. I'd also like to acknowledge Mr. Jack in the house, the Dean of Students, as well as all the other dignitaries we haven't seen. So we are going to go straight to questions. I'm going to take, in fact, all the hands, okay, now, and then we'll have a response from the Nomalanga, the first one, second, third, at the back. Okay, we'll take those first three for now. Straight to the point.
Okay. Siyabonga baba. Nami ngiphuma eMaritzburg kwela Gwala. Bengifisa ukubuza umbuzo othi kwenzeke kanjani ukuthi iANC lana eEastern Cape idlulwe yiANC yaKwaZulu Natal uma kuwukuthi kwakunama branch ahamba ko20,000 ngama90s. Bese ngicela ukubuza umbuzo wesibili othi amabhinqa wona angena ahamba kwesi story yonke lento le.
Thank you.
Oh mama ngiyabonga.
Thank you. On top. Mhlekazi. On top.
Thank you very much, Program Director. My name is Faku.
Let's allow the speaker to express his opinion or ask questions.
Program Director, I'm more convinced that young people are ready to take over the ANC after Giraffe has spoken. Because you can't, on the basis that delegates of a conference of the ANC voted for a president, which was seen to be a president at that time that was going to assist the ANC moving forward. Now, when we're saying this president is not assisting us as the ANC now to move forward, you say, no. We can't say that because we've elected him.
We got your point.
Actually, no, I've not made my point.
No, time.
Actually, it's an antithesis. It's an antithesis of democracy. Because democracy says when we see potential in you as a leader, we must elect you. But when we are saying to you again that leadership, we must be able to withdraw you.
Sure,
but I want to say something before I land.
Can you?
Before I land.
Can you pass on the mic, please?
Before I land.
Please pass on the mic.
Because we need to thoroughly reflect. Because this book of Umben, no, listen. Because Comrade Umben has stood there and we've listened to him.
We are going to switch off the mic,
giving us
you have raised your point
breakdown of his own sacrifices as a generation.
Thank you.
All signs are there. We are moving in a road and the driver is indicating right and the sign is saying it's a dead end. Must we sit down and wait to go to the dead end and to the pit because all of us inside the car can't question the driver?
Thank you. Before you pass over the mic to the last speaker, colleagues, in the interest of time, you asked a question and you gave elaboration which was not necessary. So we are not going to have that in the next speaker. Last speaker, last question, please. Thank you.
No, thanks, Chair. Just a question to Comrade Giraffe. A straight, simple question, Comrade Giraffe. With your presentation or your input and the reflection on the book and the challenges that were faced as a country, I once read on the Daily Dispatch about your availability to lead the province. Are you available to chair the province of the Eastern Cape? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to give to the panelists. Thank you. Amabutho pangasemva. Colleagues, please give us time to finish the session. We're going to give an opportunity to answer to the front row. The first question was, what happened to the ANC if it was so great in this region? And what's the role of women? The second one was, why should people wait when there's a call now that has arisen for the president to resign? The third one, are you available, Mr. Faku, to lead?
Before 1994, in the ANC, there was voluntarism. People joined the ANC as volunteers. They work as volunteers. There was no money to attract people. And everybody knew that the ANC has won the freedom for them all. But after 1994, the craze for money, selfish interest cropped up amongst people, amongst the comrades. And that crippled the organization. And also, there was the cancer of factionalism that has killed the ANC. And it has decreased the support thereof because of that, or because of these factions that have been going on as a cancer. Now, there are members of members. There are, if you oppose a person, you become an enemy. There are no more debate. There's no more debate, which was happening before. That resulted in decreasing the membership of the ANC, because it means, therefore, you have to support a particular individual. If you can't support him, you are an enemy of that individual. So that is one problem that is killing the organization. I think that is why. Now let's come to the women. Now there are heroines also amongst the women. We have got many here in Port Elizabeth, many of them, like Ogcina, Comrade Gcina, is bedridden today. He suffered a lot. He was tortured by the police. Quite a number of them. Vice State Above Florence Matomela. She was a hero here. Or Mrs. Pat was banished from Port Elizabeth because of her activities in Port Elizabeth. Quite a number of them. So it's a lot. Thank you.
Comrades, maskaleni kule question iti. Youth is ready to lead the ANC after Comrade Giraffe has spoken. Now, no, listen. Youth is ready to lead the ANC. Youth, I know, that exactly is the problem. Listen, comrades, you ask a question, and I'm responding to a question. The statement should be, youth is ready to engage with the ANC. Now, you may disagree, I'm responding to you. You may disagree, I'm responding to you. It's exactly, now I'm speaking. Somebody is mentioning a name. Now, the cause is completely not the issue. Now, what is important, if you are sincere about sustaining what the generation of Umben has done, you've got to make sure that the cause of our liberation is not lost. And once that cause is clearly articulated and is defended, then we can identify competent leaders that should take us to deliver the cause. That is how I would like to respond initially on that. It is so important, this obsession of names and compromise the content, the reason why is our problem. Of course. Secondly, comrades, somebody is asking, that's it. Comrade Giraffe, you once pronounce your availability. Now, can you see how that question is similar to the opening of the first question? And the content of what is it that you want to do? The content is, Comrade Giraffe, what is it that you and your comrades think should be done to improve the conditions of the Eastern Cape? Now, it is so important. I'm responding to your question.
Thank you.
And it is important, my dear comrades, believe you me, I tell you. What is it that we want to do for the Eastern Cape? Where do we want to take the Eastern Cape to? Once we engage in that dialogue, then we can be able to say what kind of leaders that we need in the Eastern Cape to deliver that package.
Siyabulela, sibalekile Sibalekile, let's take the last round. We're going to take questions from this side. Kusuke lapha kule half ukuthi zintathu nje kuphela. Sawuthatha uthathu Tesi. Sithathe one hand phaya emabuthweni. And then that third one. It's 1, 2, 3. Pelile Tata. Thanks, Mr. Tess.
Thank you.
Please, let's give a chance to Mr. Tess to ask the question.
Ngozi Program Director. Mna beniza kwenza nje a very humble appeal kuwe Program Director. Njengabantu ebebezi implementers zale program ombene bethetha ngayo to make South Africa ungovernable ibefuna abantu bokwenza that program. Benza ucela ke mhlambi nenye comrade elibutho ibiza ukuza iquestion siseyidibanisa sithathe nje igwijo libe linye elasithatha sithathe nje xolo nje comrade sithathe nje igwijo elinye elasithatha layo sibeke kulekweni engawuphila nakulamaxabana.
Okay, so the request is for us kuyo yonke lento siyenzayo to have igwijo elizabashushu lokvala. In fact sawuphakamisa ngayo Mr. Mabuyane uzawuzokwenzela ubulela. So, in fact, I think lithetwe inkonde elalizwe. Now ndixolela ke, you'll forgive me. That's a directive and ifumeneyo. Because the time is fast spent, so we are going to sing that song and welcome Mr. Mabuyane as he comes to do a vote of thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Ngihlala ngaphambili. Igama ndungutshongwane. I-question yami ikulandawo ye-consciousness. Ndifuna ukuqonda ngalo mcimbi we-consciousness because ndililungu le-ANC. Xa ndijoyina umbutho we-ANC, ndithi phana izigqibo ze-movement ziyandibophelela, izigqibo ze-ANC ziyandibophelela njengelungu le-ANC. Ngoku ndifuna ukuqonda uba le consciousness iqala phi iphele phi. Sicela ukucaciselwa ngale consciousness because is it correct for comrades like the Deputy Secretary of the Communist Party to be seen marching with the opposition parties against a president of the African National Congress? Is that consciousness?
Thank you. Thank you, Tat. Thank you. Okay. Because that would be the last one, was you overrode the MC.
Amanda, I want to. Mnazabuza just a simple question. Could you sum in up? Because there's no thinking tank in the revolution. Class united for the one objective. Yeah. If you now ukonda, nakandibuza ke director kunke ngiklidishe ke zingokeni. Uba le nto yi principle. Jebanje ibhlukwe nje inepokotho ezintathu. Ziyeke zingasemva. Kukho ipokotho ezilapha nalapha ezinkudlwana kunalincinci. Le incinci kuthiwa ngintoni igama layo? Utapi. Nilixelele kubana iprinciple kufuneka ihlale kweyiphi ipokotho in order izoba sustainable. For the revolutionary sake, no one can save South Africa, but we must say save revolution. So in revolution here to kulahleke iprinciple. If we ngene kweyiphi ipokotho kwezipokotho.
Siyabulela ke. So that was it. now what's going to happen is that, because of time, we are going to have the provincial secretaries coming to say to give a vote of thanks.
Jumalani laula ngobusa Jumalani laula ngobusa Nalotle kumpati wezinja Yo Malani laula ngobusa Jumalani laula ngobusa Nalotle kumpati wezinja Yo Kawala, kawala, kawala. Kawala, kawala, kawala. Kawala, kawala, kawala. Yo, yo, yo. Kawala, kawala, kawala. Amanda. Kawala, kawala, kawala. Amanda. Kawala, kawala, kawala. Amanda. Yo, yo, yo. Amanda! 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 Viva ANC, viva! Long live Mben, long live! Viva Sasko, viva! Roar, young lions, roar! Thank you very much, Program Director. Good evening, comrades. Special greetings to Utata Mben and the leadership next to him, the former chairpersons of this great region of the African National Congress, the leadership here, university, present here, and all of you comrades. Greetings to you all in the name of our Tambo. I've been requested to come on Ben to join this very, very important program this evening. I left the provincial officials to make it a point that I make time here. I want to extend the word of apology from the chair, who is also a premier of the province, and the rest of the provincial leadership collective. They would have loved to be here in numbers, but unfortunately, due to other pressing issues in the province, they couldn't make it. Thank you very much. Also, when we arrive, you see it necessary that we say a few words of gratitude to work that you have done to help us move forward as the African National Congress. A lot of questions that have been raised here, I think they really belong to branches of the ANC. How I wish that each and every one of us here belongs to a branch, so that we can really find time to exhaust some of these penetrative questions that were asked here. But as the African National Congress, I think we want to propose concretely that we need to do a lecture, not a memorial lecture, a lecture on Mben whilst he's still alive. And then that lecture must be delivered by these three leaders, so that we have enough time. They speak about Mben, we engage them
on a number of issues that they will be talking about. Indeed, Omben is an epitome or an embodiment of what we would like to see to any member of the African National Congress. Belong to a generation of disciplinarians. At that time, discipline was not an option. It was part of security measure. You were forced to be disciplined, failing which you are not only compromising yourself, you are compromising other comrades, as Omben was actually unpacking. The brilliant piece of work that we have delivered, Comrade Omben, this evening, surely will immensely contribute to our policy evolution towards our policy conference. We are grappling with something that we think is life and death of the African National Congress, the soul of the African National Congress. We are really found wanting. We need to get correct or appropriate panacea to challenges that the African National Congress is going through. So we need this wisdom from the organic intellectuals like you. And we think that in our organizational renewal and organizational development discussions, this book will form part of that. We need more, Omben. We have been talking about this, that we need our history to be written by us, not to be written in London, elsewhere, in Europe, in a very much edited to suit a particular the posturing. We applaud you that you decided, having been engaged. I know we've been talking about this. You have been sharing your ideas on this matter, even when you were about to conclude it. You have been sharing, looking at all the possible support that the ANC must give you. We are here to give that boundless support. We think that you must continue giving us more to help us to improve our political education content. Sometimes we make it easy. There is no political education. Everyone throws it. People forget that even this event that we are in today is a political education. When you came in here, you didn't know things that Omben was sharing, and Comrade Giraffe and Brakusta and the leadership, Oprah Mike, that they were talking to us about. But when we live, we should be living as different individuals. In the ANC constitution, every individual member has got rights and duties. There is something that is not written there, which is responsibility, and that belongs to a collective leadership. And if that responsibility is not exercised properly, we will continue to be found wanting. Hence the debate that we witnessed. We think there's a lot, comrades, to talk about on a continuous basis. Dr. Nomalanga Mkhize was asking why Eastern Cape is now smaller than KZN. Others can give a very simplistic academic answer there to say KZN is bigger than Eastern Cape. It has got a 10 million population. It has got more regions. We even donated some of our regions to it because it was under pressure from Inkatha Freedom Party. When we liberated it, then it started to find its the foot, and then it is a province now that we would have loved to see. The interesting part is, as I'm sitting down, Chair, the interesting part on KZN is what Omben was sharing in that particular conference. It's quite interesting, and KZN continues to demonstrate that. They can do everything else, but when it comes to them, they unite. This is 2017. The year of Oliver Reginald Tambo. let's deepen the unit. Thank you very much, Ben. Thanks very much to the panelists and to you all for gracing this very, very important occasion. Thank you very much.
Last one, Usasko. Sorry, kaibambe ndayivi yachisa pa emabutweni. Sasko, and I think it's apt. Sasko want to come and make a pledge. I think they should come down as I speak. They want to come and make a pledge here, and I think it's a very important one because it pertains to the current gender struggle that is taking place, the brutalization of women in this country. Isasko must come down, please, quickly, to make the pledge. Siyabulela Nkosi.
Mandla, 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 malibongwe, malibongwe. Greetings to the former leadership of the ANC that's present amongst us. Greetings to the current leadership of the ANC in the form of Comrade Oscar Mabuyane. And greetings to the MDM structures that are present here today. And greetings to SASCO, both the branch leadership, the regional leadership, and the provincial leadership that is here amongst us today. Mine is very short and it's very simple. We as SASCO, the vanguard of students, note with great disgust and that there has been a heightened problem of gender-based violence. We note that our sisters, our mothers are constantly being raped. Many have been killed over the past 2 weeks. We've seen on the news that there has just been an increase of gender-based violence. And we as a South African Student Congress said we cannot keep silent. We said that we cannot allow ourselves as the vanguard of students to be silent on a matter that affects us all. We said we must be able to take a stance and a clear stance in saying that we want to break the patriarchal systems that exist within our institution. We said as SASCO, we sat down as the branch executive committee of Claude Kavane, which is in this campus, that we want to make a stance. We want to shake this university and make and form a march. On Thursday, the 25th of March, we are saying we are inviting you all to an anti-gender-based violence march. We are saying that there we will be presenting a memorandum to the institution because we feel that the gender policies of this institution are not effective and that they're not answering to the institutional patriarchy that exists within this institution. We are saying as young people and we are saying as the progressive student movement that they will present a memorandum and a recommendation that protection services in this institution is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. It cannot be that in our campus that we walk around and we do not feel safe. We are saying that no more and we'll break the silence. Part of the campaign or part of the initiative of the broader program that we are having as SASCO is that we are collecting 5,000 signatures in solidarity of that movement we are having. We are asking you that outside there will be a banner, we will be laying it out, and we ask of you to sign that petition, which we'll be presenting to the institution on Thursday. More than anything, we ask of you that all the progressives that are here, because I believe that the people that are here are progressive, to form part of that march and to say gender issues or women oppression must stop being a by-the-way issue. It must stop being an issue where we speak where we feel that when we feel conveniently so. We are saying we want to break the silence, and we are starting on Thursday. And that is it. So we ask of you to just form part of that program and to sign that petition that will be outside. Comrades will be facilitating that program. And we must thank CANRAD for such a platform in allowing us to have an engagement with both the old and the new. I think it's important that we create more programs like this, because we must be able to gain wisdom from the old, and also the old must be able to listen to us when we are crying out. We thank you very much.
Thank you. Very important campaign. So outside, there's a book. The book, remember, this was a talk based on Ben's book. It's available outside for 100 Rand, and Ben is going to be available for about 10 minutes to sign and to autograph your books. So please, let's get them. Also, there's a saying in Xhosa that says, "Ikhwelo lityala." It means if you hear the battle cry and you don't respond, that's tantamount to treason. So we have been here. You heard about the theory and practice of revolution. You heard about the significance of this city. We heard about the idea of building multi-generational organizational leadership. So, as Uba Uvile, Ikhwelo Lityala, Ngosi.